Um, so every time somebody recommended Pack Publishing for some books about kernel development in the Discord channel, and which is cool. So it says currently watching a couple months. Rob mentioned one of the best ways to learn C would be to write your own Linux kernel modules. I still stand by that. I wrote a Hello World kernel module like in '96, I want to say. I felt so proud. I could never do it again. I'd have to like study. So I looked around on Amazon recently because so it looks like Sanet was looking for resources here. Linux kernel programming, a comprehensive guide on Linux kernels, writing kernel modules. I have a number of valuable books still on it because I keep telling myself I'm going to do it someday. Kernel internals, writing kernel modules, kernel synchronization might be a good book on the topic. If you really hate yourself, there's even another book, part 2, Linux kernel programming, part 2, character device drivers and kernel synchronization. I mean, this stuff is deep and fun and awesome, and I really love it. And then I saw this, Packt Publishing. All the code for the book can be found here. Now, I need to make a video about this without it being an endorsement. So I have to tell you a story. Okay, so once upon a time, I mean, I've been writing a lot in different forms for the last 20 something years. And one day, I was writing a blog, I was regularly writing a blog. I'm just saying this was 2014. This is after I started SkillStack. I took some retirement money out and started my own mentored community, private mentor community, and I started writing a lot. I started writing blogs. This is pre-Medium even. This was back when I was writing a Jekyll blog. I discovered Jekyll on GitHub. Pretty fun way to do it. Anyway, so and I had taught summer camps and stuff like that for game programming at community college, etc. And all of a sudden, somebody from Packt Publishing contacts me on. I don't remember if it was an email or LinkedIn, but they contacted me and they said, we've read your blog and your writing and we really, really, really want you to write a book for us. And I was like, well, what's the book? And they said, it doesn't matter. What book do you want to write? And I was like, what? And immediately all kinds of alarm bells went off. And I was like, and actually at the time I had some Packt Publishing books. Right. The one book that I had was it was Game Maker language, actually, if I remember right. Which was, if you don't know game development, Game Maker is really great to get kids started. Even though it's a proprietary language, I don't use it anymore. I'd rather use something like, oh god, I don't know, anything else, Phaser 3 or something. Anyway, so I'm reading through the book, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And then I don't remember what I did. I don't remember what I did. It's a horrible story because I can't remember. But the bottom line is, then I started looking at Packt Publishing in general. I was like, what's going on with this company? And it quickly became obvious, every year since then, this has been confirmed, that Packt Publishing has a very specific business model. Their model is flatter as many techies with basic writing skills as we can. Get them to write books as fast as possible. Beat other edited publications to print. This is their business model. I am 100% convinced at this point that this is Packt Publishing's business model. They are the fraudsters of the publishing world who will rush. First of all, they are constantly spamming people on LinkedIn. When I actually shared this story with some other people, and they had shared with me, I wish I could remember the name of the person on LinkedIn. This is before I dropped LinkedIn. And I'm thinking here, but they had been approached, and they had been approached to do the same thing. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of weird. They just said they wanted me to write a book. So they're kind of like this sleazy, kind of like the sleazy recruiters from LinkedIn, but for authors. So they spam everybody. They say, hey, we got this great job for you. It doesn't have anything to do with your resume. You know what I'm talking about. That's why I'm off LinkedIn. And there's great recruiters out there. Believe me, I don't want to disparage the whole recruiting community. There's the one that's helped me get my job currently. I love him, and I would happily send anybody to him. But it's hard, and so there's like a lot of sleazy recruiters out there, and there's a lot of sleazy publishers out there, and Packt is probably the sleaziest. Now, does that mean that all the material that's from Slack is bad? No. In fact, occasionally something good comes from Slack. And it's usually because they got lucky. Oh, hey, yeah, we got some good publisher from an author, not Packt. So it's not Packt. They don't get the credit for it. But so I'm just telling you right now, when you're going to reach for a book, so prefer other publishers. Okay, so there are many other more reputable publishers, even though O'Reilly has really gone downhill, in my opinion. O'Reilly has gone crazy downhill since when I started in the 90s. They don't have nearly the level of editing focus that they used to have before. And I think that they're probably getting pulled into the mud by these other publishers who are beating everybody to market by doing stuff really quickly. And they're still fighting in a game where, there's a lot of open content now, right? So prefer more established publishers. The more established publishers who actually edit books have editors. So one of the things that I noticed with Packt, beat other, yeah. Let's see, skip the editing process entirely. Skip the time wasting editors in the process. I mean, if you've read a Packt book, I mean, some of the books that I've read from Packt have they're just ripe with spelling errors and technical inaccuracies. Nobody even did minimal vetting of the content at all. There's nothing. They're not just beginner books. Hell no. No, they're not. Packt does stuff on every topic. They write stuff on every possible topic, and you can find stuff from a very edgy sort of new thing, and then stuff from others and all stuff. So there's other more established publishers. So like who? And I'm going to say, so I've never, I don't want to even put it, but usually Addison Wesley, and O'Reilly. What's the other one? I've actually had No Starch Press has been pretty good, from what I've encountered so far. Easy 100-page reads. Yeah, but it's not everything. Packt has lots of different stuff. So, the problem with books from Addison Wesley's this is the really, really, really formal books. They don't take on a book unless it's going to maybe become a textbook or something. And the bad part about that is that you go into it thinking it's going to be a higher quality, and then you end up getting somebody like Alan Donovan or somebody writing a book that absolutely sucks. They have no business writing a book at all. So the first Golang book that was written as post by Addison Wesley is a disaster. It's horrible. And I actually almost had somebody throw the book at me after I had some of my beginners learning from it. People who know are not often the best people to write a book. And so, it doesn't matter if it had, some big name on it. It's usually the big name needs to have somebody who knows how to help them write the book. It's disastrously bad, the whatever that book is from Addison Wesley, the Go book. So that's what's up. So I would say go elsewhere, look for books. And that's all I have to say about that. Be very, very careful with Packt. I am so glad that I didn't buy into their flattery and start writing a book for them. I feel bad because I've actually seen people who seem like decent technologists, and I see them with Packt publishing books to their name, and I kind of cringe because I'm like, oh, dude, why would you do that? And then because they just want to say that they wrote a book, and I have a problem with books in general. So just know that, I have a problem with books in general. I think it's kind of a dilemma, right? Because books get out of date. Um, you know, it depends on the book, but books get out of date fast. Uh, but but they do have like a single voice. They don't have the same problem as wikis and stuff. So I think that there's something else that we need to focus on out there that um, and the knowledge exchange grid that I've been trying to get time to work on is related to that. It would be everybody would be publishing sort of in pseudo book form all the time, and their content would expire over time, as they said, and then everybody could just subscribe to each other, and you could weed out, you could remove the middleman from publishers, and you could remove you could go to the authors directly, and if you wanted to sponsor them, you could. It would be more of an open content approach as opposed. But some people like to have a book in their hand, and that's fine too. Things like No Starch Press and Gitbook, I have a hard time saying that because I hate their platform. Are ways of publishing books that are a way to do this. But just be really really careful with Packt publishing, especially if you're thinking about writing for them, because I've heard crazy bad things about them. You might get good content out of them, and by the way, other books have problems too. Go in Action is full of errors, like really substantially wrong Go errors. I can't recommend it to anybody, and not to mention grammar and spelling mistakes. It's like nobody even edited the thing, and it definitely wasn't vetted by somebody who knew Go. So I can't recommend Go in Action at all to anybody. And that was, I don't even remember the publisher. It wasn't Packt. So it happens everywhere. Are you published on LinkedIn? And you agree with what I'm saying? Okay, so somebody who's actually a publisher or who's got an authorship, it would be great to have Q Macro log sign into this. He's a writer for SAP, and he's done a lot of educational material. So I'm not published. I don't have any. I never will be. I don't plan to do that. If I were to write a book, it would be a book that would like have weight and stay around for a while, like Lessons Learned or something like that. Not particularly not a tech book. I think tech books are a waste of paper. Because I mean, I love tech books. Don't get me wrong. I have tons of them, but I just, sometimes it's easier to flip through the book. It sticks in your brain better for me and everything. All of that I agree with, the Kindle, but still, it's just not, like Kubernetes. Can you imagine buying a Kubernetes book today? It would be like this big, and it would have like nothing relevant in it because it would be immediately out of date within 3 months. You're also published at the Riley, MSFT, and a couple of others. Editors are super important. Yeah, and I'm thank you so much for chiming in, Dimmer. So we actually have a published author in our chat right now while I'm doing this little video, and they are confirming this as well, and that they would know more than me. And there's many people who have been published. I've had people. If I were going to publish, I would do No Starch or Riley myself, and I don't know what the book would be. People suggested I should do the beginner boost content for that, but that's not the form for that kind. I think technical content should be managed like software. It should be managed in a versioned way that's not committed to print permanently in a publisher way. If you want a version of it at that point in time, great. But versions in technical content change so much that I would never be pursuing a book publisher and anything that wasn't like, I mean, like data structures and algorithms in C. That's a very solid thing. It's not going to change. So that's a good book, right? But yeah, and Funkmain, it says here, along with all the literature for the Golang team, there is no need for a book. Hell, even go out of their way to build tools to teach stuff. Code walks, yes. And I agree with that. From A to Z, a beginner's guide. From A to Z. You're so good with the puns, Cypheric. I love that. Your opinion, what's the best source for info these days other than books? The internet. But I still think the internet's got lots of problems. You guys know, you've seen me search using links-based, tech-based searches. And so I believe the absolute single best source for reliable tech content is individuals who are posting in whatever way. They're posting to GitHub, they're posting to Twitter, and following individuals. Stack Overflow, unfortunately, is the thing that pulls up in search results. I have no control over that, but it's always wrong. It's always like the fifth thing at the bottom that has the answer, right? But sometimes you need a comprehensive text that takes you beginning to end through a topic, and I think the internet is the best place for that. I have worked a lot to improve on this. There's an effort I've been working on for some years called the Knowledge Exchange Grid. It was originally the Essential Web, and it's an entirely different approach to exchanging knowledge and to subscribing to one another, and based on what I believe is the best way to get the best knowledge is that you subscribe to a person. Okay, so you spend all your time identifying leaders in the field, Rob Pike, TJ Holloway-Chuck, people who have real skill, by the way, not people who pump up their star by doing conferences and stuff like that and remove themselves entirely from the technology and make tutorials that have no relevance to the modern use of that technology, and then don't take them down and confuse the hell out of everybody. That really annoys me. You want to focus on people, build yourself a list and follow those people, right? And then that's how I learned about Go in 2014 when TJ Holloway-Chuck left. He wrote his famous blog, Farewell to Node, and he went to Go. And I learned about Go in 2014. I was ahead of the curve on everybody because I was following a specific knowledgeable technologist who was constantly putting out stuff of relevance. And so I don't think that you should be focusing on books. I think you should be focusing on people and identifying those people. You stay like shelf remote and have no actual talent. Well, join the club. I mean, everybody else is out there doing it. I don't think so. Print books are simple to static. I use them for reference for topics. They don't change over time. Yeah, cryptography, logic. Agreed. And I'm totally on board with that. I have many books that I go to all the time, and I love a good tech book, even if it's going to be outdated next week. But so yeah, just be aware of your publishers, the ones you're buying, whether you're going to even use a book at all. But again, I'm going to say again, so we have somebody who's published in our Twitch chat. I wish we knew who they were, because I think you should follow people, follow and sub to people, not books. And I'm not talking about social media, Twitter, or something like that. Like you can go read the code posts from a particular user on GitHub, and you will learn way more than you would ever learn from any book if you just do the research and read about it. If that person also publishes, this is why I'm so big into the Zettelkasten thing, because as you guys know, I have, here's the titles for today. I maintain a Zettelkasten just like, Niklas Luhmann started back in the day. And I'm doing this because I want to be able to go back and find my notes. But if somebody else actually wants to go along on the journey with me, there's many things that, I'm a novice on and I'm open with it. I think you want to follow authentic people. You don't want to follow people that are perception managing and that shit. And I think a lot of the reason that you don't see more individuals publishing live content like this is one, they have to make a living at it, some of them. And I've chosen to make my living another way so I can do this for free. And two, they don't know. I think there's a lot of people with names on their books that have no idea about what's in the book. So by following and subbing into authentic people with real skills and merit, you eliminate all of the middle layers between there of perception management and false flag kind of thing. Not false flag, but people take false authorship and stuff like that. LeanPub. LeanPub looks pretty good. LeanPub. The thing I like about LeanPub is, I like LeanPub. The problem is that LeanPub is what happens when you then make it too easy to publish. You know what I mean? because if you make it too easy to publish, then you get it's because it's a distribution mechanism. I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. Follow people, not books and publishers. Okay, I'm going to make this sound better. Follow people, not books and publishers. Right? Because you can't go wrong with that. Wherever the person decides to publish, then, you can listen to what they have to say. This also means if they're in a conference, you already know them and you might actually meet them. Right. And I'm whoever the person is, by the way, be aware of people who spend a lot of time talking and not a lot of time doing. And I find myself in danger of being that person all the time now that I stream. One of the reasons that my stream has gone back down so much, and you don't see me stream as much, particularly live like this, is because I believe that I think most authors would agree with this too, right? They would rather you follow them and not the publisher. But I think it's very easy. I actually wrote a little Zet on this called avoid Avoid where is it? Manager suck. Oh, it's a video, I guess. Kind service manager sucks. Where is it? Oh wow, is that long ago? I said avoid. I wrote a thing called avoid manager suck. What that means is a lot of people get pulled into meetings and stuff, and they get pulled away from the technology. And one of the final forms of that evolution of that SME, know it all, is to have them start talking a lot in conferences. They'll like talk at this conference and this conference and this conference. They're talking in all these conferences. It's like, seriously, I think it's kind of like the final evolved form of the blowhard know-it-all who gets removed from the actual technology. TJ Hollowaychuk said it best. And I had actually written this before, and it was very validating to hear him say it. But he said, I'll paraphrase, but TJ said, the more likely you are to hear from someone, the less likely you are to want to hear what they have to say. So that's why you don't stream unless you're doing some fun stuff like code challenges. Yeah, I agree with that. Day 15 of the boost and need to shoot out for the great job. Oh, that's nice. Thank you for saying so. In the first tutorial that made me understand the Docker and containers. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It's super important that Docker containers. Oh my God. I did not even get that till last year. So people, not books, and certainly not Packt. Packt is really good at flattering people that get a book out really fast, and they don't do any editing, and then you end up buying it. And I noticed this too because I would search for a topic on Amazon, and the books that would pop up are all Packt. I was like, what? There's nobody written about this yet? Nobody had written about it yet. And the people that were willing to write about it prematurely, a lot of times it was wrong. So, I'll just be aware. That's the end of this video. Let's talk about something else now. Addison Wesley is my favorite. Yeah, they're pretty good. Vim Books. I need to read Drew's books. Vim Books. I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, but they're a good publisher. Yeah, they're a pretty good publisher for sure. What else we got? We've got. It's just like anything. But again, people, not books. I'll end on that note.